the Spark agent. Many thanks today to the Spark Agency, who are a subsidiary of our glorified patron members, Sleeping Giant Media, for helping us with this webinar today. Our keynote speaker is going to be Sam Hogbin, ably added by Barnaby Apps, who's a giant, Ben Abbott, who's a giant, and Amber Valacott, who's a giant. So delighted to have you guys with us. As always, grateful thanks in advance to Molly from Kent Invicta Chamber, who presses the buttons, makes sure things run smoothly, and does all the magic. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Kaz Macklin, Kent Invicta Chamber of Commerce. I'm delighted to welcome some new faces here today. The way it will run is Sam will lead, and there will be opportunities for you guys to ask questions. Don't hesitate to put anything into the chat for me to come back to, and there will be an opportunity for you to pose your questions directly to our guru Sam, and of course the giants that are supporting him today. So without further ado, Sam, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you ever so much. Well, yeah. Hello,
drum roll. Go on, follow that.
Oh, impossible. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining. So, yeah, I hope you're all having a good week. So I'd just like to kick off by introducing myself. I'm Sam Hogbin, Senior Digital Marketing Executive at the Spark Agency. My role is typically to support the delivery of our digital marketing packages across SEO, PPC, which is sort of Google Ads, and paid social services, ultimately to help businesses grow. But yeah, just to give you a bit of context, as you mentioned Sleeping Giant Media there, but yeah, Spark Agency is part of Sleeping Giant Media, an award-winning digital marketing company agency that I'm sure some of you have no doubt heard of. At the Spark Agency, we predominantly work with small to medium-sized businesses, often with a more local focus, helping them take their first steps into digital marketing and generating the best performance for their budget through a series of SEO, Google Ads, PPC, and paid social services. And digital marketing is, of course, the overall focus for today. I'm guessing many of you understand the importance of digital marketing, particularly in the modern landscape, but ultimately, digital marketing, the goal of it is to use it to drive traffic to your site and your store, depending on how you're set up. And that's obviously what we're here to discuss today. So we'll be running through a few ways to help you guys with either physical or online stores to use digital marketing to help you boost awareness, drive traffic, and perhaps even sort of kickstart your companies in the digital landscape through various channels that we'll touch on today. And in terms of what we'll be covering, there's obviously quite a lot to cover in a fairly sort of short space of time, but hopefully it will be enough to get you guys thinking, some points you guys can go away with and sort of implement yourself and work into your own sort of digital marketing strategies or website. But just to sort of run through what we'll be touching on today, could be the benefits of promoting your products and services online, introduction to Google Smart Campaigns, using Google Smart Campaigns to highlight your unique selling points, introduction to Google My Business, optimizing your Google My Business, looking at citations. What are citations? Looking at citation management best practice, and also having a little look at local on-page SEO content as well, and some sort of tips around that, how you can implement that perhaps into your site if relevant. But to kick things off, what are the benefits of promoting your products and services online? Do you guys have any thoughts? What would you say are sort of the main benefits of promoting and utilizing digital marketing? Feel free to drop some comments in the chat if you have any thoughts there. Reach, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sales, definitely. Visibility, awareness. Yeah, education, testing, yeah. Lead gen, education, fantastic. Yeah. Credibility, certainly, yeah. Brilliant. Anyone? No? Sales, yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's all really great stuff. You sort of nailed most of them really there. That's really great stuff. So yeah, the sort of obvious main benefits for utilizing digital marketing will be driving brand awareness, driving online sales. It helps increase your leads. It can be a really cost-effective avenue. It helps you find new customers. It's a really good customer service tool as well, and you know, you can also reach audiences from further afield. But there's a couple in there as well around sort of testing, credibility, as well, sort of a bit of education piece as well. There's plenty of really other great benefits to utilizing digital marketing as a way of promoting your business. So yeah, really great stuff, and we'll be touching on some of these. Hopefully you can sort of experience some of these benefits, but some of the elements we'll be talking about today. And there are many channels that you can use to promote your services, such as social media. So utilizing your Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok is becoming particularly popular in recent times as well. So that's an area to look at. You can also look at your own website. You can utilize search engine tools. There's some great points there we can touch on as well. Paid advertising through Google Ads, for example, and using sort of directory listings as well. There's plenty of more channels out there as well. But just to sort of get a feel, I suppose, in the room, is there any channels that anyone here is utilizing at the moment, using perhaps using Google Ads or social media channels or anything like that to sort of promote your services at the moment? Google Ads, YouTube, LinkedIn. Yeah, LinkedIn is certainly a very good for in terms of sort of B2B. Typically, is a good avenue without a doubt. Facebook. Okay, excellent. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of with social media, of course, there's organic work you can do through your pages, but also there's some paid advertising that you can utilize on that as well. But yeah, it sounds like you guys are sort of touching a lot on Google Ads and social media elements, but that's good to hear that there's some bits that people are doing already. But as some of you might have found, enacting a lot of the sort of digital marketing practices isn't necessarily easy. So one of the biggest challenges businesses often face when it comes to digital marketing is not having, sort of finding the time and the money to do these things. That's it's partly why agencies like Spark exists. We're here to take digital marketing off of your to-do list and onto ours. But I'm going to explain to you in some of the activities today that you can be doing that are cost effective, take less time, and hopefully give you some of the benefits of digital marketing that we just touched on there. So to kick things off, the one way that you can sort of promote your business as a small business particularly is promoting your products and services online through Google Smart Campaigns, which is an affordable and easy to set up advertising campaign program, helping you drive traffic to your store and online as well. So Smart Campaigns is a paid advertising format within Google, and it's a great starting point for small businesses, taking the first step into this area, into the paid advertising platform area, especially for those with perhaps limited budget and time. Because of the way that Smart Campaigns are designed, they're very simple and quite automated. So it's a really good way to sort of dip your toes in and try out paid advertising for the first time. It's important to note that Smart Campaigns and search campaigns are different things. So the usual kind of PPC that you may have seen in the past is what a search campaign would apply, but it's because smart campaigns are heavily reliant on the Google algorithm, with advertisers having slightly more limited control and the whole setup being quite automated. With search campaigns, they require a lot more work on the part of the advertiser, hence why they're far more time consuming, and that's not what we're recommending here today. But with smart campaigns, the beauty of the smart campaign ad is that they really can be as simple as creating your ad, which includes, you know, creating the ad copy, the messaging, choosing some keyword themes, choosing your location that you want to target, and setting a budget. It sort of sounds really quite straightforward, and the process is pretty easy, sort of step by step once you get going, and it's a great way to start off. The ads themselves show to potential customers across what's known as the Google network, which is a series of websites and platforms, and includes the likes of sort of Google search, so the actual search engine results, Google Maps, when you make a search in Google Maps, YouTube, it can appear as pop-ups on YouTube ads, Gmail, and sort of Google partner websites. So that can be sort of news websites, blogs, things like that. You might sometimes have seen placements appear within articles there. So smart campaign ads are eligible to appear in those areas as well. So these ads can show to customers within your geographic area, whichever area it is that you have specified. So when a potential customer searches for a phrase related to your business, either in Google or on Google Maps. So for example, the listing that you can see here is for plumbing services. You can see the ads themselves are those denoted with a little ad symbol. The headline for the ads is the sort of the blue text that you see there. They're the main headlines that later date you can choose when you're creating the ad, and the ad descriptions are the black text beneath that as well. So these are elements that when you're actually creating the ad, you determine what they are, what they say within a certain character count. Your ads, once created, can also show to people who are outside of your local area, but include terms related to your business and location in their search. So for example, if someone in Edinburgh is searching for B&Bs in Kent, and you've got a smart campaign ad running around that service, your ad is eligible to show up. So it's quite clever in that way. So you can reach, touching on what we said about the benefits earlier, you can reach wider audiences that you wouldn't necessarily have found otherwise. But what do smart campaigns look like? So you saw an example there of what advertisements look like within the search listings themselves, but they also, as mentioned, are eligible to pop up in Google Maps. So you can see here, an example for hairdressers in London using Google Maps. As you can see, again, on the left-hand side, the ads are labeled with the ad symbol. This is probably quite a competitive term in a city. So this business has used some paid advertising to stand out, literally above the sort of organic listings. Is everyone able to see the screen, by the way? Sorry, I think it looks like Graham might be having. No one can see the screen.
We can see the screen, but it's very, very faint. You can't actually distinguish what's there on the left-hand side, and I'm paying really close attention to you. Oh, other people can see it. Oh, it's just me then. Maybe my vintage eyes.
Okay, well,
rock and roll.
It's a bit blurry. Okay, no problem. But basically, well, just to sort of, for those that are perhaps sort of struggling to see the map itself, there on the left, you've got the main map in the center of the screen, and then a couple of advertisements on the left-hand side below where the search bar is. And they basically list the sort of business name, a little bit of information about what the business is as well, and perhaps its opening hours. So they're basically ways that you can appear above organic listings that may be plotted on a map when performing a search. But how do you set up a smart campaign? So firstly, you need a Google Ads account. So if you haven't got one already, get one set up. They're quite simple to sort of create with a login. It's then as simple as signing in and adding a new campaign, with smart campaigns being an option that you can select when creating a new campaign. The process from that point is a very easy sort of step-by-step from there. You'll be asked to add your business information, choose an area that you want to target, and select sort of keyword themes around whatever your business is, what services you provide, and that will be used by Google to then target with your ad based on algorithmic searches that it identifies elsewhere. When you're actually creating the ad itself, what sort of things should you be including? So the headline, that's sort of like the main sort of blue link that you see at the top of a listing. A description, which is sort of basically giving some information about your service, slightly longer in character length. A URL to your site. You can also add in a telephone number, your business address, and you can also now add imagery around your business service, including a business logo. So that can help with visibility, and they're eligible to sort of appear in various placements across the Google network, as mentioned earlier. But when you are creating your ads themselves, particularly the messaging, try to include USPs in your headlines and descriptions to help encourage users to your site. So yeah, in the ad setup, you will actually see a preview being shown of how the ad will potentially look as you're writing it out. So this is quite a useful feature to take advantage of when creating the ad. You can sort of play around with it and see how it may look, how it may appear as a search engine result. So, but including sort of your core USPs, whether that's, get a free consultation or, book now, some sort of call to action as well, is quite good. So those sorts of elements are really good to try and see, pepper into your copy and really sort of stand out with those USPs. Once you have created your ad, you're basically you set a budget. So, I mean, we run smart campaign packages, and we typically recommend a budget of around £150 a month, which works out roughly about £5 a day. This can vary though, depending on what you're promoting, see how hard you want to promote or push your service or products, and also some other factors too. But it can be lower than 150, but that's a typical sort of ballpark figure that we would recommend if you're sort of getting involved with smart campaign advertising. And it's important to sort of reiterate as well that this is pay-per-click advertising, PPC advertising. So you only pay if a person actually clicks through your ad. That's only when you'll actually be charged. So that's just important to note that as well when it comes to any budget considerations on that as well. Sometimes, depending on the service that you're in, the kind of cost per clicks can vary as well. So perhaps sort of people in the financial industry, those sort of costs per clicks can be a bit higher. So that's another consideration as well, depending on the kind of business that you're in. So that's a paid avenue that you can explore and as a first port of call when it comes to digital marketing in a paid landscape. But we're going to move on to a sort of a free option that you can utilize, which we really do strongly recommend taking advantage of, and that's Google My Business. It's very good, certainly if you are perhaps don't have any budget to pour into advertising itself. So what is Google My Business? It's basically a free listing that appears in a box on the right-hand side of the search listing. It's like an information panel. You may have seen them before. It features information about a business, such as a name, the opening hours, description, some reviews, much more. You quite likely would have seen it if you search for a local service or a particular business. Sometimes it will pop up on the side screen. But having and optimizing a Google My Business profile has a twofold benefit. Firstly, it helps potential customers find out more and hopefully visit your website or shop in person. And secondly, it tells Google everything it needs to know about your business to determine how and where to rank your business within the search results or the local map pack, which was the blurry map picture that you guys would have seen earlier. So you're eligible to sort of appear in those placements as well as an organic listing. So it's hugely important from a local SEO perspective to optimize, particularly if it's optimized well, which we'll be touching on shortly, to sort of help visibility there. As a marketing option, it's low cost but high value, and it's really easy to manage as well. It gives you a great opportunity to increase your chances of being seen online, as I say, if it's optimized properly and kept up to date. But before I get into how to set one up and optimization recommendations, on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being not at all and 5 being totally, how confident are you guys in the room with Google My Business? Feel free to drop some numbers in the chat. Also, feel free to let me know if you already manage a Google My Business profile for yourself or for a client, and also if you haven't set one up as well, just to give me a bit of an idea of who's in the room. Right, looks like there's some 4s in there. Okay, a couple of people don't have one, or perhaps don't use it. Yeah, so hopefully for those of you that don't have one or aren't using it, have one but don't use it, these can sort of help give you some insights into what you can do. Okay, so there's a nice sort of cross section there by the looks of things, of people that are quite confident with it perhaps, and those that haven't had much exposure to it. So regardless of your sort of experience level, we'll run through the setting up of it and then some optimization techniques and recommendations for those that do have one and manage them actively. So we'll start up with how do you create and set up a Google My Business profile for your business. So firstly, you need to have a Google Ads or Google account. So there's a common thread here. It's important to think about which Google account you use, as well, as this can cause issues around ownership later down the line. So when setting up a Google account, use a business email address rather than a personal one. That's because that then means that the business can access it, even if perhaps the person with the personal address has left the company for whatever reason. It just means that access can be a bit simpler. It often happens with clients that we've had where they have existing accounts, but someone set it up a long time ago with their own personal email address, and it then means that people can't access it later down the line once that person may have left the company. So that's a little tip there for those sort of creating and setting up ownership. Use a business email address where possible. But in regards to actually setting it up, to start with, search for Google My Business in Google. You log in with your Google account and you're ready to get started from there. So to start with, you enter the name of the business and select the necessary business type. So you can see there's the options you have are sort of an online retail, local store, or a service business. It gives you a little description as to what each of those mean. But for example, if you have an individual branch or a core physical store, local store would be the option that you'd want to be selecting there. Next up, you pick a business category. So this is how Google will determine when to show your page, your Google My Business page. When you're selecting this, get it as close to your business offering as possible, to ensure that you're hitting the most relevant audience possible when they're searching for you. Typically, there's sort of predefined options that you can select. So yeah, consider what you're all about, what your core business service is, and try and get that as closely aligned as you can when selecting the main business category. After that, you enter the address of your business. Once entered, you may be given a list of existing businesses in your area, asking whether any of these are yours. But if none of them are, the pre-existing options, feel free to obviously proceed and create your very own profile. Once you've entered the address, you'll see a pin dropped on a map. You can click and drag a pin around the map in that area where you're based. And again, it's important to make sure that you put this in the right spot, because when it comes to verifying your page, a postcard is typically sent to the location that you've outlined, or where you operate from. So that location, so they can ensure that they're hitting the right location and that you're the rightful owner of the page. See, there's a couple of questions in here. Sorry, I'll just jump on those. So yeah, University of Kent. See that for the University of Kent, there's some events. Typically, I think with events, typically you have to sort of enter the information yourself. I'm not sure if there's any sort of link that you can create with your website, but there are plenty of options available within Google My Business. So I believe it would have to be sort of manually added, I believe, on that. And with multiple addresses, so if you're adding multiple addresses, we would recommend, if you've got multiple branches, is creating multiple Google My Business profiles, basically. So a profile per branch would be the best way probably to go about that if you've got multiple places, multiple locations. That way you can optimize them specifically to that branch or shop that you may have. No problem. And then, yeah, once you've entered and clarified the address elements, you enter the contact details. So that's a telephone number and a website. These are optional, but we highly recommend that you do include these. So it's got a point that users can visit on a website, and obviously a number to phone as well. And that is it with regards to the basic setup of the listing. Once you have set up, the next step is the verification process, which can be a bit of a time consuming in terms of how long it takes for the necessary information to come through. But typically it's a postcard that comes through with a code on it, sent to your business address or your mailing address if you don't have a physical location. So once you get the postcard, you enter the code online and you're sorted. That is basically it. Just keep in mind, as I say, it can take a little while for the postcard to come through. I suppose reiterate as well the importance of making sure that your address is correct, so they do send it to the right place. But if you are really new to marketing, Google My Business does also, as an aside, have an option to create a free website as part of the setup process. We wouldn't necessarily recommend using that because it's not particularly well optimized from an SEO perspective, and you can use free templates on the likes of WordPress and Blogger if you don't have one already. So that's we would suggest steering away from the free website option that it does offer, and opting for something like WordPress or Blogger, as I say. So you've set up your listing, filled in all the relevant details, but how do you make it extra special and search friendly and ready to appeal to the sort of search engine wizards? So we're particularly useful hopefully for those of you that do have a listing already and those that are looking to create one. These are some of the things to sort of consider when it comes to optimizing it. So the information that you provide through Google My Business can appear in both the Google search and the Google Maps listings as sort of touched on earlier. So they're two hugely important platforms when it comes to organic visibility, particularly from a local perspective. So keeping your page up to date and optimized really is quite key to success. So when it comes to optimizing your Google My Business, it is one of those sort of ongoing tasks, I suppose, but there are some great optimization best practices that I'm sharing with you today quickly to help you get off the ground and sort of hopefully, spark some success there. But I would also say I'd recommend keeping an eye out for our Spark blog as well if you get a chance. There's, we have information on there about how you can optimize your Google My Business there as well, with some more elements that we may not touch on today. So keep an eye out for that too. So when it comes to optimizing Google My Business, there are some core features to look at and that you can optimize in terms to sort of really help you with getting some success. And that includes the likes of obviously including your business name, address and phone number, which is known as NAPs, your opening hours, a bit about your business, a description about your business, the services you offer. You can select sort of subcategories. You have a main category and you can choose like subcategories within that as well. You can also list things like the specific products that you may have, and you can even include appointment links if that's something that you offer. So there's some of the elements you can look at. There's also reviews that appear in Google My Business listing, star reviews. So they can be really quite valuable from a marketing perspective and also a customer service perspective too. But optimizing all of these are obviously really important when it comes to local SEO marketing. So helping to boost your chance of appearing top of the search results when it comes to when someone comes looking for your business, service or products in a local search. But my 4 top optimization techniques, basically practices that I would suggest for you to sort of like, these are things that you can think about implementing if you've, setting one up from new, or if you perhaps already have one in the existing listing, and you can go away and look at some of these elements to implement into your own profiles. But regardless of whether you think it is perfect, there is always room for improvement when it comes to optimizing for SEO and digital marketing. So the first optimization recommendation I've got is to tell them everything. So make sure your Google My Business listing communicates to potential customers what your business does, where it is, how they can purchase your products or services, things like that. So utilizing all the features that I shared in the slide before, such as product listing, appointment booking, service areas, things like that. So basically don't leave anything to chance. Like be as in-depth and clear as you possibly can when it comes to giving that information to users, because it's such a great free valuable tool to take advantage of. So tell them everything. Secondly, include keywords. So like other forms of search, Google will look for a variety of signals in order to serve the searcher you're listening. So these signals are ones you can put in place through the use of keywords and search phrases. Essentially, it's things that people Google in order to find you and what you do. So this is particularly prevalent to when you're writing your business description in Google My Business. So include keywords in the description of your business, or if you add products, you can add description there. So including keywords within those. And I'd recommend thinking about the language that you write when it comes to sort of from a content perspective. Think about what how your customers might be searching for your services, what kind of language they would use, because that's not necessarily the type of terminology that you would think is obvious when writing a product description or a business description. So consider the user's potential search. Next up, let them know when you're around, ultimately. So make sure you update your opening hours. I'm sure it's happened to all of us, but you'll see a business listing online saying that it's open, only for you to turn up and you see that the shutters are down, doors are closed, lights are off. It's quite frustrating. So don't be like that. You know, make sure you keep your opening hours up to date, because it can harm user experience ultimately, and that's not what you want. On that as well, with the hours, you can set holiday hours, so you can update when you perhaps might be shut around Christmas, around bank holidays, other sort of seasonal events as well. So that's quite a useful feature if your hours vary throughout the year, based on holidays. And you can show off reviews. I sort of touched on it earlier, but ultimately people will buy from people and people trust people. So try and get some reviews on your Google My Business listing. Is, I suppose, a bit easier said than done, but you can ask customers who visit your store, or who visit your store or use your services online. You can ask them to leave reviews on your Google My Business profile. But I'd also say, make sure that any reviews that you do get, respond to them. It makes you look more trustworthy to potential new customers, and it, as I said before, it acts as a very good customer service tool. So you can interact with your potential customers. If you get a good review, say thank them for it. Even if you get a bad review, it's good to sort of reach out and try and show that you're engaging and trying to find a solution. So it does act as a sort of a public customer service platform too, which can be really good from a trust perspective when users are discovering your business. And that's a final point, I suppose, just generally on sort of Google My Business, and something we'll touch on a bit with citations. Make sure that your details are consistent across the internet. So this is really important from a local SEO perspective, and generally for customer service. Google looks at these sort of signals for your name, address, and phone number, your NAPs, to sort of show that you are trustworthy, that you do exist, and it is consistent across the net. But this is perhaps even more applicable to citations, which moves nicely on to them here, which is another largely free area that you can explore when promoting your business, certainly from a sort of a local perspective. So what is a citation? Does anyone know in the room know what a citation is, or any sort of ideas what a citation may be? Feel free to drop any thoughts in the chat if you think you know. No, it's not necessarily immediately obvious, I must admit, what a citation is. So ultimately, to put it simply, it's any mention of your business on the internet, ultimately. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a link, but it can be text. It's just anything that mentions your address and telephone number. So there are a few different examples of what a citation is, what they are. Some examples are your own website, for example, your Google My Business, business listings in directories, things like Yell, Thompson Local, things like that. Other partner websites, the Yellow Pages, the Chamber of Commerce listings, those are considered citations. So there are lots of areas on the internet where you can get your business name out there on trustworthy citation directories and things to sort of help broaden awareness and send those positive local Google signals. With this in mind, I wanted to touch on citation management. It's a service that we offer, and something you'll often may see recommended as a good local SEO practice. So it is basically what is citation management? It's basically what it says on the tin. So you're managing the existing citations that are out there for your business, making sure they're consistent by contacting the listing owners or claiming them in some instances as well as finding new places that you can potentially list your business. It is quite a manual task, citation management, but it's important for organic success, because to help sort of Google, search engines such as Google to trust that your business is the real deal. So regular mentions of it, consistent mentions of it, can be really valuable, and help with visibility as well elsewhere. But how do you go about getting citations? That is also quite a manual task. So that's like finding relevant directories based on your industry and your local area, or even speaking to clients, suppliers and fellow businesses that could list your business details if you have those kinds of contacts. So they're people that you can perhaps reach out to. Some great places to start are things like your Yale listing, getting on Trustpilot, contacting your sort of local chamber of commerce. If you're a tradesperson, there's also a whole range of really good trade directory specific directories that you can utilize as well. So they're good depending on which service you offer. But ultimately, you want to be setting up citations on trustworthy business directories, and that can also benefit your site from what's known as a backlink perspective, which is another core ranking factor. So having links on websites on trustworthy directories like Thompson Local, Apple Maps, all send positive signals to Google and show that they're like valuable links that Google looks at and ultimately rewards, so that this is a trustworthy domain, a trustworthy business that you've got. But again, it is really important to emphasize that you'll want to ensure that all the information that you include on your Google My Business or any citations that you may have already or create are consistent and match up. So make sure that those NAPs, the name, address, and phone number details are consistent across all of your citations. That touches on citations. I think there's a question in the chat. Let me just touch on that, sorry.
Some really good questions here from everybody. Thank you so much.
Yes,
Opa, Sam's just digesting that and processing.
Yes, sorry. Yeah, I think I might have to come to this one towards the end. Well, there will be opportunities to ask questions at the end as well. But I will come back to you, Opal, at the end. Sorry.
Thank you, Sam.
So the final area I wanted to quickly touch on was local SEO content. So this is something that you can consider for your own website when it comes to sort of more local rankings. So what is local SEO content? Well, local SEO content is ultimately defined as any text, images, or video designed to meet the needs of local searchers. So basically, that means the content that you have on your site should make it clear and relevant to the specific local area you serve, be that town, city, or region. So, and they should be demonstrating that the services you provide are localized. So your optimization efforts with elements such as Google My Business and local citations all feed into a local SEO content strategy to help send really vital signals to Google and make it clear what your business does and where, what the areas that you serve. So let's have a look at some of the sort of things you can look at, you can do on your own website when it comes to local SEO content. So firstly, get local with location keywords. So use of keywords has long been a core element of SEO. And while Google has become much more sophisticated with what it looks for when determining rankings, the use of keywords is still hugely important. With that in mind, when creating and optimizing functional content on your site, that is typically content that sits on your core pages, like your home page or your main category pages, service pages. Think about your business and its services as a whole, while sprinkling sort of local mentions into the content. As mentioned previously, consider your use of language and try to write in a way that customers might use when searching for your services. Next up is create location-specific pages. So that might touch perhaps on what Greg has asked here. So it's particularly useful if you cover multiple locations, but an effective strategy for local SEO content is to create service pages dedicated to specific locations. This allows you to optimize the page title, the on-page content around the service and a specific location, rather than trying to cover multiple towns or regions. This is particularly relevant if you're looking to rank in a certain location, a certain area. When writing, be sure to use relevant header tags and location-based search terms again throughout the content, but try to avoid keyword stuffing in your content, so overuse of keywords. It's also important to note that if you create multiple location pages for your service, the content should be unique. So don't simply duplicate all the content from previous existing service pages and just switch out the location. Search engines reward unique content, and so do users. If a customer sees that your pages are effectively carbon copies of one another, it can send a negative impression. So keep this in mind when building location-specific pages. Next up, include local news or blog content. So the use of blog on a website cannot be understated. Having a blog is, for any website, regardless of your size, be it local or global, is a vital source of rankings, as it provides a creative platform where you can produce and publish regular and unique content related to your business, industry, and service area. So a blog offers a great space and freedom for you to produce creative content that goes beyond the static and service pages of your site. Some things that you may want to consider when writing a blog piece that will be beneficial from a local perspective is things like case studies. So highlight work you've completed in your local area, opening of a new branch or a change in a business location, pieces around testimonials or interviews with local customers, thoughts leadership pieces based around sort of industry news. So perhaps how any developments in your service area may impact your local area that you serve, and company updates as well. Any other sort of information that you would like users to know. It's good source there. But as a general rule, creative content should be at least 500 words long, but overall it is sort of quality over quantity that you really should be looking at from that perspective. And finally, the last sort of local SEO content recommendation is to ensure your address and contact information, again, such as your telephone number and email address, is consistently present on your site. Like in your website footer, we'd recommend having a confirmation. We'd recommend having the contact information in your header of your site as well. And if you do have specific branches, specific locations, having the address and contact information on each of the branch pages, if you're creating local location specific pages, including that information there as well. So this feeds back into what we discussed earlier around consistency across the internet with regards to your NAPs, name, address, and phone number. So ensure that all that information is that's there is correct across Google My Business, your website, and your citations too. So that gives you some of the sort of core local SEO content points that you might want to consider working into your own site if you haven't already. If you give your content and your services a local focus, it can help users in your area find you sort of far more easily. So it's certainly worth exploring from a marketing perspective. That is everything from me today in terms of the sort of the core elements that we wanted to discuss. I just sort of covered obviously 4 ways that you can affordably market your products and services online, making sure you appear locally when someone searches for you, and what you can do and what you can sort of deliver as well. But all as sort of worked out at the beginning of the session is sort of paramount to success.
Sam, that was really, really well structured, well crafted, and well put together. Bravo. So hats off to all of you guys at the Sparks Agency. I just wanted to open it up. Has the discussion and the information that Sam has shared with us thrown up any questions? Unmute yourself, and we have a few minutes left that Sam and the other giants can field questions in.
Sure, I think there might be something. I'll have a quick look through the chat and see if there's anything in here.
Lots of good links there to the Spark Agency, which is good. And I'm going back through. It doesn't appear, Sam, a question from Jen Abbott. Sam may correct me on this as he's the expert, great, but I think for you both, the focus would be on the website on what we would call a direct SEO approach rather than local. Would you
sorry,
like
Kaz, that was just in response to two questions that were asked just ahead of that. So obviously I'm part of the Spark team, so just helping out Sam with that. So Sam, would you say that was probably the best way of doing things in terms of is similar questions from both Greg and Kate there about the not necessarily location specific focus like Kent, for example, but actually national and potentially global. So the focus would then remain on the website. Is that correct?
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, if you're sort of a more global or national perhaps approach, then perhaps isn't quite so applicable with sort of location specific and things like that. But it'd be a more direct SEO approach rather than local, exactly as Ben mentioned there. So optimizing your page titles and content more on a keyword basis than on that front. So Ben, absolutely spot on with your observation there, definitely.
Well done. That's good. We've been asked by Graham if we could kindly share the slides, and hopefully you'll get those over to Molly. But Molly will be pasting out on YouTube, and today's webinar has been recorded by Molly. I think that there are no further questions other than praise. Sorry,
there was only the one from Opal. Was it Opal? Sorry. Yes.
Yes, I think
oh no, one from me. Wendy.
Hi, sorry. I was just typing in the question bar. I've tried to connect with Sam and yourself, Ben, on LinkedIn.
Thank you. Yep.
Because I've got quite a few questions. There's like two aspects.
Okay, no worries. We can follow up with a call after this, Opal. Let's have a chat.
I think rather than waste anyone else's time, then I can just catch you guys one-on-one.
This is what we like to see, lots of connections. Do feel free, everybody, to connect with both Sam and the Giants. They're all over LinkedIn. They're terribly good at this. So you can, by all means, follow up with them. We have a few minutes left. It only remains for me to thank Sam from the Sparks Agency and the Giants, and of course, all of you guests, because without you coming to support these events, they wouldn't be as successful as they are. Sam, did you have any closing comments?
Other than, obviously, thank you everyone for your time. Feel free to reach out to the Spark Agency if anything that we've touched on doesn't make sense, or you're a bit concerned about doing it yourself. I think Barnaby may have already dropped a link in the chat about what you can reaching out to us, or you can scan a QR code on the blurry screen, but I'll address them if anyone has any questions. I'll try and address them in the chat or reach out to us after, but if not, all good.
Excellent.
I think there was one question from Wendy there, Sam, as well. Sorry, she's just commented a few times.
Thank you, Wendy.
Yes, go ahead, Wendy. Sorry,
I do listings, and so if I have a listing, say I cover all of Kent. If I have a listing for, say, somewhere in Ashford, should I put the Ashford in the URL for that listing?
Ideally, that probably, if you feel like the landing page has value, then has better value than sending someone to the sort of homepage, then we would suggest sending them to a location specific URL.
Okay, great.
By listing, if possible.
Okay, because I've just been putting the venue in the heading in the URL rather than the location.
Okay, I mean, typically, it's trying to sort of like give users the most value really for where they're going. So if you feel like the landing page has got suitable content and information, then send them to that location specific URL if it's based on the event that you're promoting.
Okay, brilliant. That's great. Thank you very much. It's been really informative.
Thank you very much indeed. We've got a few minutes left. It only remains for me, as always, to thank Molly Hall from Team Chamber. Molly, as always, you press the buttons in the right way and you make everything look seamless. So congratulations, well done. Again, our thanks to Sparks and the Giants. It only remains for me to wish you guys a really good forward morning. I hope the rest of the week is as productive. I've been Kaz Macklin for Kent Invicta Chamber of Commerce. Thanks, guys.
Thanks ever so much.